I won $100 million in the lottery. Instead of spending a dime, I gave every last cent to a homeless man living under a bridge. In my past life, I won that same $100 million. My husband and my best friend urged me to spend it immediately. I listened to them. I went to a dealership and got a new car, then went to a realtor and bought a mansion. I had just pulled into my driveway in my new car when the dealership owner and the realtor showed up at my door. They aggressively demanded payment. But I had already paid them. It wasn't until they opened their bags and showed me the money I'd given them that I realized it was all hell money. I tried to explain, but my husband and my best friend stepped forward. "Lucy," they said, "how could you use spirit money to pay for things? Even if you were desperate after being poor for so long, you can't just pass off fake money and scam people like that." My husband demanded a divorce. My best friend said she couldn't be friends with someone like me. The enraged business owners stabbed me to death on the spot. Even after I died, I couldn't understand why all my money had turned into fake bills for the dead. I opened my eyes and I was back on the day I won the lottery. "Honey, you have to go cash that ticket. After taxes, it'll be $80 million. We can finally get a new car and a bigger house." My husband Kevin's voice echoed in my ears. I was dazed for a moment before I realized I had been reborn. Seeing me just standing there, my husband gave me an impatient nudge. "What are you waiting for, honey? Go cash it in. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity." A shiver went down my spine. I looked at my husband's familiar face, my mouth opening and closing as the memories of my past life flooded my mind. In the end, I said nothing. As my husband kept rushing me, I threw on a coat and left the house. On the way to the lottery office, my heart ached. It wasn't because of the $20 million in taxes I'd have to pay, but because of the fact that my husband and my best friend had plotted against me. In my last life, my husband and Bestie had pushed me to spend the money quickly. Buy a car, buy a house, buy anything, just don't keep it in the bank. Otherwise, you'll have relatives coming out of the woodwork asking for handouts. Thinking about all the real-life stories of families being torn apart over money, I thought it made sense. I took their advice and went to a realtor and a car dealership to order a car and a house. I drove home in my new luxury car, holding the deed to the new mansion, feeling on top of the world. But when I got home, my husband and best friend were nowhere to be seen. Instead, my front door was surrounded by a group of people demanding money. They'd brought a bunch of guys with them, claiming I'd taken their goods without paying, that I'd used hell money to fool them. They were demanding the payment plus damages for emotional distress. I was stunned. I had clearly paid them in cash. How could they claim it was fake? Then the real estate agent and the dealership manager pulled out 2 large duffel bags. They opened them, and inside was nothing but hell money from the bank of heaven and hell. Not a single real bill. I tried to argue, to ask if they'd made a mistake. But then my husband and best friend, who had been missing, suddenly appeared. They immediately started pointing their fingers at me. "Lucy, you are such a disappointment. I can't believe I was ever friends with you." My best friend condemned me. My husband demanded a divorce, saying he couldn't stand the humiliation. My last memory was of the furious business owners stabbing me, again and again. Honestly, in this life, I didn't even want to cash the ticket, terrified of the trouble it would bring. But then I thought, you can be the one hiding, but the hunter will always find you. Even if I dodged this bullet, they would just have something else waiting for me. With that thought, I immediately went and cashed my lottery ticket. The second I got the money, my husband's call came through, right on schedule. "Lucy, did you get the money? Great, now hurry up and go buy the car and the house. The dealership manager and the realtor are waiting for you to make the payment." Hearing his urgent, excited voice, my heart sank. He sounded thrilled, but after what happened in my past life, it felt like he was just eager for my death. I still had a sliver of hope. I tested him over the phone. "Honey, do we really have to buy a car and a house? Why don't we just put it in a savings account and live off the interest every year?" As expected, his furious roar came through the phone a second later. "Lucy, what the hell are you talking about? We had a plan before you left. 100 million, 80 million after taxes. 20 million for a Rolls Royce and 60 million for a mansion. I've already talked to them, and now you're telling me you've changed your mind?" I tried to reason with him. "Kevin, We don't need those things. Our current car is only worth about $20,000, and our house is over 1,000 square feet. It's more than enough for us. I don't care. He cut me off impatiently. Lucy, you listen to me. If you don't come back with the deed to the house and the keys to that car, don't even bother coming back at all. This family won't have a place for you. Hearing the undisguised threat in his voice, my heart dropped. Any lingering hope I had was gone. After Kevin hung up, my best friend Kelly's call came right after. Her first words were to persuade me to buy the house and car to calm Kevin down. Lucy, how could you just go back on your word? You know a man's pride is tied to his house and his car. You have the money. Why can't you just grant your husband this one little wish? Lucy, you're not seeing someone else, are you? Why else would you be unwilling to spend money on Kevin? You can't cheat on him. If you do, as your best friend, I'll be the first one to look down on you. Hurry up and make that final payment. They say men get corrupted by money, but it looks like you're the one who's changing for the worse. Kelly's nagging voice droned on, a mix of threats and persuasion to get me to pay up. Feeling their relentless, ugly desperation to harm me again and again, the last shred of hope and warmth I had for my husband and best friend vanished. Before Kelly could finish, I hung up the phone and set my phone to do not disturb. Walking down the street, I wondered how I could spend this money without getting into trouble. Suddenly, my eyes fell on a beggar lying on the ground, picking at his feet. An idea struck me. Holding my phone up to record, I stuffed the $80 million check into the beggar's hand. I kept recording until I had walked to the end of the street. Then I stopped the video and went home, feeling pretty pleased with myself. I figured that since I didn't buy the car or the house this time, I'd be safe. But I never expected that I'd barely had a sip of hot water at home before someone started pounding on my door. I opened it to find the realtor and the dealership manager standing there, fuming. Lucy, you damn scammer. You take our stuff and don't pay? Give us our money. We've never seen such a disgusting customer. It's bad enough you didn't pay, but you had to insult us with hell money. You're giving us an explanation today, or we're not leaving. I was completely baffled. I hadn't gone to buy a car or a house, so how did these guys still end up at my door? Was my house haunted? I threw my hands up. You must have the wrong person. I didn't buy a car or a house. I haven't even stepped foot in your stores, so how could I have possibly paid you with hell money? My words sent the realtor and the manager into a rage. The realtor pulled out his phone. Who said you didn't buy a house? The call logs are right here. Isn't this your number? I leaned in for a look. It really was my number. But that didn't prove I bought a house. I explained my thoughts to them. Before the realtor could argue, the dealership manager sneered. Lucy, I guess you're one of those people who needs to see it to believe it. Mike. Steve. Bring out the money Lucy paid with at the dealership today. Let everyone see if she paid in real dollars or hell money. Since my house was right on the street, the commotion drew a crowd of onlookers. They all craned their necks, curious, as the employees from both stores carried over duffel bag after duffel bag. I held my breath, my eyes glued to the scene. The next moment, countless bills printed with the Bank of Heaven and Hell logo fluttered out as the bags were opened. Oh my God, it really is hell money. What terrible luck. Just came to see what was going on and got hit with all this bad juju. Ugh, I need to go wash this bad luck off me. The onlookers screamed and backed away, leaving a large empty space in the middle. I stood in my doorway, flanked by the two stores' menacing employees, with hell money scattering on the ground. For a moment, the crowd erupted in murmurs. Lucy's lived on this street for years. She always seemed like such an honest woman. How could she do something so shameless? You can't judge a book by its cover. Some people look decent on the outside, but they're rotten to the core. Hearing the crowd on their side, the dealership manager and the realtor looked at me with smug arrogance. Lucy, all this fake money is right in front of you. What else can you possibly say? I sighed. What was meant to be, was meant to be. Gentlemen, you keep saying I'm the one who paid with this money. Do you have any proof? To my surprise, they actually did. Hearing my question, the realtor and the manager's faces turned red, as if they'd been deeply wronged. Lucy, you're disgusting. Do you think we're shameless like you? Of course we came prepared with proof that you didn't pay. Everyone take a look. See if these bills have Lucy's name written on them." The crowd gasped and rushed forward, bending down to pick up the scattered paper money. A few seconds later, they started chattering again. "It's true. It has Lucy's name on it. Every single bill. Is there something wrong with this Lucy woman? Not only does she pay with hell money, but she writes her own name on it, just to make sure everyone knows it was her." I still tried to reason with them. "Gentlemen, just because my name is on the money doesn't prove I'm the one who bought anything." The realtor's eyes widened. "What are you saying? You're just going to deny it to the end?" Seeing he was refusing to communicate, I sighed and pulled out the video I had recorded earlier. "Look, it's not that I'm denying it. It's that I have proof. Because I never kept the $100 million lottery prize for myself. I gave it to a homeless man." As I said this, the surrounding onlookers stared at me with wide, disbelieving eyes. "What? She gave the prize to a homeless man? That's $100 million. Even after taxes, it's $80 million. That has to be a lie. I've never seen that much money in my life. Lucy's just a regular person like me. Could she really just give it all away, especially to some dirty beggar?" Hearing the crowd's doubts, I quickly played the video of me giving the check to the man. It really wasn't me. As I spoke, I held my phone up high so everyone could see the screen clearly. After the video finished, the onlookers looked at me with suspicion. "Okay, so Lucy gave the check away, but she could have just taken it back after she stopped recording." "Yeah, who knows if she took it back or not?" Hearing the doubts, the dealership owner and the realtor sneered. "Your proof doesn't prove a thing. But the security cameras in our stores clearly show you paying with several bags of hell money." The crowd surged forward to watch. I stared in shock. Because on that security footage, the person slapping down the money and handing over several duffel bags was really me. At that moment, I genuinely thought I was seeing a ghost. Seeing I had nothing left to say, the realtor and the manager looked at me triumphantly. "Lucy, we suggest you pay up now. Otherwise, we're calling the police and you'll rot in jail." The crowd chimed in. "Yeah, they should arrest a lowlife like her. Teach her a lesson." The accusations grew louder. Just then my husband and best friend appeared. After getting the gist of the situation, my husband looked at me with the same disappointed expression as in my last life. "Lucy, I know you've been poor and you're always trying to save money. I can understand that. But you can't buy millions of dollars worth of things and not pay for them, let alone use hell money to insult people. This is just too much. I can't have a wife like you. I want a divorce." My best friend added, with tears in her eyes, "Lucy, how could you become so materialistic? You won the lottery, you're rich now, but you refused to pay, leaving these innocent employees to take the fall for you. Lucy, I don't even know you anymore. You feel like a stranger." My husband and best friend went back and forth, and in just a few sentences, as the people closest to me, they had painted me as a deadbeat who refused to pay for her purchases. One was my husband, the other my best friend. Their wickedness made them feel like strangers to me. The commotion had gotten so big that a police officer emerged from the crowd. The moment the dealership owner, the realtor, my husband, and my best friend saw the officer, they cried out, "Officer, you're just in time. Arrest this scumbag who pays for things with hell money." But the officer, hearing their words, didn't do as they asked. Instead, he pulled out his handcuffs and cuffed the dealership owner, the realtor, my husband, and my best friend on the spot. "Officer, what are you doing? You're supposed to arrest Lucy. You've got the wrong people." The four of them looked completely bewildered. The officer said, "I haven't made a mistake. Someone called in a report, and I've already gotten to the bottom of this. If you know what's going on, why aren't you arresting Lucy? Why are you arresting us? What time did Lucy come to your stores to buy things?" The officer asked, ignoring their question. 9 a.m. 11 a.m. The realtor and the dealership owner answered in unison. The officer gave a mysterious smile. "That's right. Because at 9 a.m. and 11 a.m., Lucy was with me." At that, a young couple and a terrified-looking child emerged from the crowd. They immediately knelt before me. "Ms. Lucy, thank you so much. If it weren't for you, my child would have drowned today." Seeing the young couple and their child bowing to me, the dealership owner, the realtor, my husband, and my best friend were even more confused. What on earth was going on? Seeing their confusion, the officer finally explained. At 9 a.m. this morning, I was patrolling by the city canal when this child fell in. I was about to attempt a rescue, but Ms. Lucy here beat me to it. She bravely dove into the canal without a second thought for her own safety and saved the child. The whole ordeal took 2 hours. If it weren't for Ms. Lucy, a young life would have been lost today. The crowd's eyes widened, unsure how the story had taken such a turn. Someone boldly asked, "Officer, are you saying Lucy is the hero who saved this child's life?" Officer nodded. Summer is peak season for children falling into the water. The railing along that part of the canal is old and in disrepair. This little boy was curious and got too close to the water, and he slipped and fell in. I'm not a strong swimmer. Even if I had jumped in, I'm not sure I could have saved him. We have Ms. Lucy to thank. After she rescued the boy, I took them both back to the station and contacted the boy's parents to come pick him up. I just gave Ms. Lucy a ride home. My patrol car is parked at the end of the street. Everyone quickly looked in the direction he pointed, and sure enough, there was a police car parked there. Officer added, Ms. Lucy had invited me in for a cup of hot water, but I got a call from the boy's parents. They had a plaque rushed to be made for her. So I waited at the end of the street for the family to arrive, which is why I didn't come over with Ms. Lucy right away. I never imagined so much could happen in just 20 minutes. That Ms. Lucy would be accused of being a deadbeat who doesn't pay for her purchases. After officer's explanation, the crowd's expressions shifted from doubt and disdain to respect and shame. I can't believe Lucy is such a good person. We totally misjudged her. That canal has a strong current. What kind of bad person would risk their own life to jump in and save a child? There has to be a misunderstanding. Yeah, look. Lucy's clothes are still soaking wet. She hasn't even had a chance to change since she got home. With officer's testimony, everyone was now convinced that I had indeed given the check to the homeless man and not taken it back. After all, officer had said I was with them the entire time since saving the child, and he had even driven me home in his patrol car. I had no time to act alone. Now the crowd wasn't just praising me for my bravery. They were calling me a great philanthropist who saw money as nothing more than dirt. If it were me, I could never give a winning lottery ticket to a beggar. That's $100 million. It's too much. I could never part with it. I couldn't either. Lucy's character is truly noble. We really misjudged her. I believe her now. Lucy is not a bad person. She would never refuse to pay for something she bought. The crowd's chatter quickly settled the matter. They were all convinced I could do no wrong. I let out a long sigh of relief. Because of my memories from my past life, I knew a child would fall into the canal that day. That's why after giving the check to the beggar, I immediately ran to the canal to save him. Thank God I did, or I would have been framed with no way to clear my name. On the other side, unlike the praise from the crowd, the dealership manager and the realtor looked furious. Their faces were beet red. Feeling everyone's eyes on them, the realtor's expression grew awkward. So what if you saved someone and gave your money to a beggar? That doesn't prove you weren't the one who came to our stores. Hearing him, the dealership manager stood up straighter. That's right. You came to our dealership, ordered a Rolls-Royce, and then paid with a pile of hell money to insult us. We have it all on video. Lucy, you can't just use the fact that you saved someone as an excuse to not pay for what you bought. The manager and the realtor went back and forth, ignoring all logic, determined to pin the crime of paying with hell money on me. My husband's eyes darted around, and then he stepped forward. I can prove it. Lucy was going to buy a house and a car. This morning, when I told her to go cash the ticket, she was excitedly planning with me to buy a huge mansion and a sports car. My best friend nodded. Lucy even called me to brag. She said she'd won $100 million and was going to be a tycoon. She was going to use the money to live it up. She then played a recording. Haha. There's no way I'm paying those two idiot managers. As long as I act like a big shot, they won't dare to count the money on the spot. I'll just drop the bags of hell money and leave. The car keys and the deed will be all mine. They can go ask the bank of heaven and hell for their money. My best friend's voice sounded disapproving. Lucy, how could you do that? The things you're buying are worth millions. The manager and the realtor are just working stiffs. You'll ruin them. My own scornful voice came through the recording. So what? I won 100 million. I'm a tycoon now. I'm not like those working class losers. It's their own fault for not checking the cash properly at the store. Isn't there a saying? All sales are final once you leave the counter? It was their negligence that led to millions in losses for their stores. If they had been more careful, they would have found out I was paying with hell money. So really the problem is them, not me. My best friend's voice was full of anger, her words stuttering. Lucy, you're being outrageous. I can't be friends with someone like you. Get out. I never want to see you again. My mocking laughter was the response. That's hilarious. No wonder you'll never be rich. You actually feel sorry for those two losers. Didn't I just say? If they want their money, they can go ask the bank of heaven and hell. How dare they ask me for it? They can go to hell. With that last sentence, the recording ended. The atmosphere was dead silent. The onlookers stared with wide, disbelieving eyes, their gazes shifting back and forth between me and my best friend, Kelly, as if their entire worldview had been shattered. A dark, triumphant gleam flashed in my husband Kevin's eyes. Lucy, I never knew you were such a dark, antisocial person behind my back. Before you won the lottery, you were just a working-class person yourself. How could you become so twisted after getting rich overnight? After he said that, he turned to the officer. Officer, aren't you a cop? Now there's even more evidence that Lucy scammed them. You can let us go now and arrest her. The dealership manager and the realtor nodded eagerly. Yes, yes. Officer, you can't just protect Lucy because you know her. She bought a luxury car and a mansion from our stores, then deliberately gave the lottery winnings to a beggar. Isn't that just a classic case of trying to get something for nothing? Officer, you're a cop. You can't have this kind of injustice happening right under your nose, can you? The two of them, afraid officer wouldn't act, pressured him from both sides, trying to back him into a corner with his own professional duty. Officer glanced at me, but said nothing. To the onlookers and to Kevin's group, his silence looked like hesitation and tacit agreement. Kevin pulled out a set of divorce papers he had prepared beforehand. Lucy, here's a divorce agreement. Sign it. Then we're done. Get out of my house. I took it and glanced at it, and the contents made me laugh with rage. The agreement stipulated, word for word, that I would leave the marriage with nothing. This was absolutely ridiculous. Kevin came from a poor rural family. His parents were farmers with no money to buy a house in the city. My own parents were originally against our marriage. It was only because I repeatedly assured them that Kevin was a good, honest man, tall and strong, and seemed reliable, that my parents reluctantly agreed. After we got married, Kevin and I moved out of my family's home and into a street front house my parents had bought for me. Although it was an old house, the area was scheduled for redevelopment. According to the plan, demolition was set to begin in the latter half of the year. Every homeowner would receive 2 new apartments and a compensation of several $1 million. In my past life, I had just told Kevin this good news when I won the lottery. It felt like when it rains, it pours. Good things just kept coming one after another. I was overjoyed. I thought fate was finally smiling on us, that we were finally going to have a good life. But I never expected that my happiness was premature. Because the redevelopment would bring several million in cash and 2 new apartments, I thought Kevin's point about relatives asking for money made sense. So I decided to use the 100 million from the lottery to buy a mansion and a nice car. That way, we wouldn't have a lot of cash on hand, and if we kept quiet about the redevelopment, Kevin's freeloading rural relatives wouldn't come flocking. So I made the decision. Buy everything new. We would trade our house for a big mansion in the city and our car for the Rolls-Royce Kevin had always dreamed of. After those 2 purchases, the 80 million after tax winnings would be mostly gone. As for my parents, I had a plan for them too. The mansion was a 3-story villa. Kevin and I would live on the 3rd floor. My parents, being older and having mobility issues, would live on the 1st floor. The 2nd floor would be a family room. This way, both families could eat together but have their own private space, avoiding any awkwardness. If there was any money left over, we'd use it for a family vacation to see the country. I had it all planned out perfectly, but my plans were no match for reality. In my last life, after I made the payments, before I could even call my parents to share the good news, the dealership manager and the realtor rushed in and stabbed me to death without another word. As my thoughts returned to the present, I caught a glimpse of Kevin and Kelly exchanging a look. A wave of nausea washed over me. What a pair of scheming snakes. I had helped both of them so much. One was my best friend, the other my husband, and they had been hooking up behind my back and plotting my death. Fine. This time, I'd like to see who comes out on top. Seeing Officer standing still, Kevin couldn't help but press him. Officer, the evidence is solid. What are you waiting for? Let us go and arrest this horrible woman. The dealership manager and the realtor crossed their arms, looking at me. Lucy, if you give us the money you owe us now, we can let this slide. But if you keep denying you bought the mansion and the Rolls Royce, you'll have to take it up with the police. The onlookers were completely lost, and without knowing the full story, they fell silent, watching how things would unfold. At the same time, Kevin sneered. Lucy, just sign the divorce papers. You're going to jail anyway. The house is useless in your name. You might as well give it to me. As for your parents, I'll look after them, for old time's sake. I was about to vomit from his phony act. Seeing that they had exposed themselves enough, I dropped the act too. I pulled up the public notice about our neighborhood's redevelopment and showed it to the crowd. Everyone, take a look. The reason Kevin is in such a hurry to divorce me is because my house is about to be redeveloped. He wants my compensation. And there's one more crucial thing. If I was carrying around that many duffel bags of cash, the street cameras would have definitely caught me, right? If you think the video on my phone isn't proof, then let's go to the Department of Transportation and pull the surveillance footage from the street cameras. We can see if I ever appeared on the road to the dealership or the sales office. My argument was logical and well-reasoned. The onlookers all nodded. That's right. They both have videos as evidence, and they're sticking to their stories. Since that's the case, let's put their evidence aside and look for a third-party source. The DOT's cameras are official. There's no way those can be faked. Let's go look at those. Yeah. Let's go right now. This drama, with its constant twists and turns, had the crowd buzzing with excitement. They were all fired up, ready to go with me to the DOT to check the footage. Officer offered to file an application for me so the whole thing could be settled, and a clear verdict reached by noon. I nodded at him gratefully, then turned to look at Kevin and Kelly. I saw their eyes were wide with panic, their clothes soaked with sweat. Kevin stammered, Lucy, it's just a small misunderstanding. Do you really have to go to the DOT? And get officer to file an application? Isn't that a waste of police resources? Kelly added nervously, yeah, there's no need for that, right? Lucy, if this gets blown out of proportion, it'll ruin your reputation. Even strangers will know you got into trouble with the authorities for not paying for things. The dealership manager and the realtor were also sweating bullets. The realtor's eyes darted around. You know what, forget it. I'll just take the loss on this one. You haven't moved into the house anyway, so let's just pretend you never came to buy it. The dealership manager added, yeah, I just remembered, we never gave you the car keys. So the transaction was never completed. You can't be accused of not paying. Let's just drop it. Before I could say anything, the parents of the boy I rescued, who had been standing by, spoke up for me. The mom was a fierce defender. She let them have it with a verbal lashing. So you get to say whatever you want, is that it? From the very beginning, you were all accusing Ms. Lucy of not paying, of insulting you with hell money. You claimed you were the victims, that your jobs were on the line. If the keys were never handed over and the house wasn't transferred, then the deal was never done, right? So what were you so worked up about? Besides, weren't you the ones saying Ms. Lucy was a shameless deadbeat? Well, this is perfect. Let's take it to the authorities and let them make a fair judgment. The realtor wasn't happy. I already said let's drop it. Why do you have to be so relentless? The dealership manager wanted to leave. What a waste of time. We never should have come here. As he spoke, I caught a sharp glimpse of the realtor and the manager's eyes darting toward Kelly and Kevin. Now they weren't going anywhere. Because I was starting to suspect the four of them were all connected. I immediately crouched on the ground and started wailing. I can't go on. I've been falsely accused, and now they won't even let me clear my name. I don't want to live anymore. Officer, don't stop me. Just let me die. They're trying to drive my parents and me to our graves. After I'm dead, I beg you to post this story online. This dealership and real estate agency are trying to kill an innocent customer. I deliberately made a huge scene, making it as dramatic as possible. The bigger the scene, the more onlookers would gather. The crowd became a chaotic mob, surrounding the manager and the realtor, refusing to let them leave. Officer also took out his phone and made a call. Yes, sir. I have a case here that requires the cooperation of the Department of Transportation to pull surveillance footage. The amount involved is around $70 to $80 million. The nature of the case is extremely serious. We may need to request SWAT team backup. Officer's words were cut short by two loud wails. It was the realtor and the manager. They were drenched in sweat, their legs had gone weak, and they just gave up. I'm not acting anymore. We're done with this charade. They turned and glared at Kelly. When you hired us, you said this was just a walkthrough. You never said there would be SWAT teams involved. Now it was Kelly's turn to be stunned. With that, the realtor and the manager tried to run, but Officer, who was prepared, tripped them with a swift kick. The manager, sweat pouring down his face, pleaded, "Don't hit me. Don't arrest me. I'll tell you everything. I was just hired to act." The realtor, terrified of being arrested after the manager confessed, spilled everything in one go. It turned out that the realtor and the manager were Kelly's cousins. The surveillance video was something they had created beforehand using AI. To clear his own name, the realtor even admitted they had used AI face swapping technology. The person who paid with hell money was actually Kelly. But we used a deepfake, so the final video showed Lucy's face. I'm telling the truth. If you don't believe me, look. The woman's nails in the video, aren't they exactly the same as Kelly's? Everyone's gaze instantly shot to Kelly. They saw her trying to hide her hands behind her back. I lunged forward and grabbed her hand. Sure enough, I saw her manicure, complete with rhinestones. The gems on her nails sparkled in the sunlight, clear for everyone to see. And with that, the truth was out. Officer pulled out his handcuffs to arrest Kelly. Kelly panicked and looked hatefully at the realtor and the manager. How could you betray me? We had a deal. The realtor spat disdainfully. You said you'd give us $5 million each after this was over, but you never mentioned the police would be involved. Besides, the lottery prize was $80 million. You were going to give us $10 million and keep $70 million for yourself. Who do you think you're fooling, throwing us scraps like that? The manager shook his head. High risk, low reward. Not even a dog would take that deal. Kelly had no choice but to turn to Kevin for help, but he wouldn't even look at her. He was too busy trying to suck up to me. Lucy, I was wrong about you before. You haven't signed the divorce papers, have you? Let's not get divorced. Just pretend I never said anything, okay? Seeing the panic in his eyes, I wasn't buying it. I turned to the crowd. Everyone, you all saw it. My husband and my best friend teamed up to frame me. If I hadn't been lucky, I'd be dead by now. Tell me, should I get this divorce? Should my husband get lost? The response was a chorus of divorce. And get lost. Kevin tried to plead his case, but Kelly, seeing he had abandoned her, turned on him viciously. Kevin, it was you who told me Lucy's house was going to be redeveloped. And then she won the lottery. You said we could team up and make a huge score. It was all your idea. How do you get to walk away scot-free? Officer, I want to report Kevin. And just like that, a pair of iron handcuffs was slapped onto Kevin's wrists as well. As they were leaving, Officer pulled me aside. He took the check out of his pocket. I was stunned. This is... Officer smiled. Your intention to give the money to the homeless man was good. But that man is in my jurisdiction. And I know he has a mental illness. He wouldn't have known what to do with the money. So before I left, I traded him a rotisserie chicken for the check. The man was thrilled. As for this check, it's being returned to its rightful owner. You should hold on to it. Honey, what are you waiting for? Go cash it in. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. To be honest, when I handed over the check, I hesitated for a long time. I was incredibly reluctant to part with that money. It was $80 million. I had never seen so much money in my life. But thinking about what happened in my past life, I had to grit my teeth and give it away. I thought that by changing someone else's fate, I was at least doing a good deed. I never expected the check to come back to me, untouched. I was so moved I could only stammer my thanks to Officer. Thank you, Officer. You're a truly good person. Officer smiled and nodded at me. It's nothing. Just serving the people. With that, he cut the pleasantries short and, along with the other officers who had arrived, escorted the 4 of them into the patrol car. I just smiled and waved at him, grateful that he had given me a new life. Later, I really did buy a big mansion. I brought the homeless man to live with us. She turned out to be a very sweet old woman. In her lucid moments, she would hold my hand and my parents' hands and tell us stories from her youth. And Officer became a regular visitor at our house, often showing up with bags of groceries to see the old woman and my parents. And then, of course, we got married. This time, I had a very good life. The end.